This is the Annapurna Circuit Trek in Nepal, and honestly, it's one of the most scenic trekking route on the planet. This trek gives you everything, from remote trans-Himalayan landscape to some of the highest mountain peaks in the world, and even a few really beautiful lakes along the way. In recent years, a lot of people say that the route isn't as raw or natural as it used to be a couple of years back. I did this trek solo last year, and in this video I am going to share my experience, how I avoided the usual traffic to get a more authentic Annapurna Circuit experience. So if you are planning to do this trek in 2026, this video is for you. So let's get started. My journey starts from Kathmandu, the capital and also the busiest city of Nepal. I stayed near the Thamel area and visited the famous Darbar Square in the evening. Thamel is also the go-to place for trekking gear. You can also get the permit for Annapurna Circuit Trek from Kathmandu itself.
Kathmandu is the best place to get your money exchange, especially if you are bringing Indian currency.
From Kathmandu's Gongabu bus stand, you can catch a direct bus to Besisahar early in the morning. If you are late and miss the direct bus, don't worry. You can take any bus heading towards Pokhara and get down at Dumre, and from there catch another bus to Besisahar. The entire journey takes roughly 5 to 6 hours.
Good morning guys, good morning from Besisahar. Right now I am in a hotel. This is Hotel Gangapurna.
But these days, most people begin their trek from Chame. From Besisahar, you can take a shared jeep up to Chame for around 3000 Nepali rupiah. And if you already have some experience with high altitude trekking, you can even start from Pisang. I personally started from Pisang. The jeep ride up to Pisang cost me around 4000 Nepali rupiah, and it saves me one full day of trekking between Chame and Pisang. In Pisang, you can visit the Pisang monastery, and from there you can get a breathtaking view of Annapurna 2, which is almost an 8000 meters peak. And if you stay in Upper Pisang, you can actually enjoy the same view from your own room. You can even go all the way up to Manang by the same jeep, but honestly, I wouldn't recommend going beyond Pisang, because the stretch from Pisang to Manang is one of the most scenic part of the entire Annapurna Circuit Trek, with multiple beautiful viewpoints along the way. The next day, I started my first day of hiking from Pisang. As I gain altitude and reach Gairu village, the whole Annapurna range suddenly opens up, and honestly, the view are just outstanding. To avoid the usual crowd, I decided to stay in a more remote village called Nawal. It's much quieter, and you can also find cheaper accommodation and food compared to the other main villages. Nawal is also a great place for your first acclimatization hike. From here, you can hike up to the Guru Rinpoche cave, which is at an altitude of 4200 meters. The scenery around from this place is next level. It's always a good idea to start the day hikes early in the morning. I was completely alone up there, and for me this felt like the real authentic Annapurna Circuit experience, something most trekkers usually miss. After visiting the Guru Rinpoche cave, I trekked to Braka village. It's a relatively short and easy day. Braka is in the Marshiangi River Valley and 3 kilometers before the most famous village on the route, Manang. And Braka is also the starting point for one of the major side hikes of this trek, the Ice Lake. Ice Lake sits at an altitude of around 4,600 meters. From Braka, it's roughly a 12-kilometer round trip with about 1,000 meters of elevation gain, which makes it a perfect acclimatization hike for the higher section of the Annapurna circuit. This hike is steep and test your strength at each and every step. Carry enough water with you as there is only one shop along the way for water and snacks, and it's quite expensive. But once you reach the top, you will be rewarded with 2 stunning alpine lakes, surrounded by towering mountain peaks. On the way down, I took a detour for a different perspective, and the approach didn't disappoint. You can see incredible views of Annapurna 2, 3, 4, Gangapurna and Tilicho Peak. The next day, my destination was Tilicho Base Camp. Normally this is around a 17-kilometer trek, but there is a motorable road up to Khangsar, which is almost halfway. I took a ride with a local up to Khangsar. Beyond Khangsar, there is another midway stay option at Srikharka. There is no natural water source along this route, so make sure to fill your water bottles here. After Srikharka, the trail passes through a landslide-prone section, a dusty stretch with plenty of loose rocks, so need to proceed with extra caution while walking. After crossing this section, I finally reached Tilicho Base Camp, which is the base for one of the highest lakes in the world, located at almost 5,000 meters above sea level. I saw a few trekkers here struggling with altitude sickness. They had to turn back from the midway and couldn't make it all the way to the lake. Personally, I feel that if you have already done the Ice Lake hike, acclimatization shouldn't be a major issue here. But still, it's always better to be safe, so carrying Diamox tablets is definitely a good idea. Tilicho Lake is something you absolutely shouldn't miss on this route. For me, this was hands down my favorite viewpoint of the entire Annapurna Circuit Trek. If you are trekking in the spring season like me, you will see the lake still frozen, with massive glaciers flowing down from the almost vertical mountain walls, and all of those mountains rising above 7,000 meters. The trek from base camp to Tilicho Lake takes around 3 hours. So if you want to catch the sunrise from the top, you will need to start very early, around 3 am in the morning, and hike in the dark. This place is brutally cold. Icy winds cut into your face, and even the water in my bottle froze solid. It's honestly such an unforgettable experience. From here, most people leave the same day and stay overnight at Srikharka. I choose to stay back at the base camp instead, as many trekkers were heading to Tilicho Lake that day, and I expected Srikharka to be quite crowded. The next day, I started descending to rejoin the route towards Thorong La Pass. The usual itinerary for the day is Srikharka to Yakkharka. Since I started from Tilicho base camp, I was always about 3 kilometers behind the usual trail traffic, which actually worked in my favor, fewer people and quieter walk. Up to Srikharka, the trail is the same way back, and from there it takes a detour towards Thorong La. Today was the first time on this trek that the weather didn't cooperate, with clouds blocking the views. I decided to stop at a place called Nirvana Hotel. just after crossing a suspension bridge where the road coming from Manang also joined the Thorong La route. This place was extremely calm and quiet, perfect for people who don't like crowd. Next day, weather is clear again, and I headed towards the usual last stop before crossing Thorong La Pass, the Thorong ferry. It's a long day of trekking with a steady and continuous altitude gain all the way up to the ferry. On the way, I passed through Yak Kharka, which literally means grazing land for yaks, followed by Leader, before finally reaching Thorong ferry. Thorong ferry itself is surrounded by steep vertical cliffs, so there aren't many views around. But if you push a little further and climb up to Thorong High Camp, the scenery completely changes, with incredible view in every direction. Thorong High Camp sits at around 4,800 meters, and there is a viewpoint very close by that gives you a full 360-degree panoramic view. Staying at High Camp can offer better acclimatization for crossing Thorong La Pass, as the pass is only about a 600-meter altitude gain from here compared to Thorong ferry. However, this place is again extremely cold and windy. No matter whether you stay at Thorong ferry or High Camp, both places are always packed. There is no escaping from crowd here. And this is the first time in my trekking journey I have seen so many people at once. I planned to start at around 6 am in the morning, but the noise outside my room woke me up early. From 4 am onwards, people were already starting for the pass, which I felt was unnecessary. And now comes the final and the most challenging part of this trek, crossing Thorong La Pass. It's another long day, starting from High Camp and climbing up to the highest point of the entire trek at over 5,400 meters. Once you reach the pass, everything suddenly opens up on the other side. You are greeted by the barren trans-Himalayan landscape of the Mustang Valley, with massive peaks on both sides and hanging glaciers flowing down from them. It's a moment that makes every hard step completely worth it. From the pass, it's a long downhill walk to around 9 kilometers to Muktinath, which sits at an altitude of about 3,700 meters. This descent is a real taste of your legs, especially after such a long day. From Muktinath, you get a clear view of the massive Dhaulagiri peak, the 7th highest peak of the world. And after visiting the famous Muktinath temple, the trek officially comes to an end. From here, you can take a direct bus to Pokhara or even Kathmandu, but either way, it's a full day journey. So that's my experience of the Annapurna Circuit Trek. If you have any query, feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will see you in my next adventure.